Today's live is going to be something that is kind of personal for me. So, I want to be sharing today and looking forward to um, your feedback and how it impacts you. Let me try to get my Instagram. Where did my Instagram folks go? Boy, where did my Instagram go? I may have to fix Instagram. Anyway, Instagram folks, if it does not come to you now, I'm going to play this for you later. Let me see, public. All right. Well, good morning. If you are on here now live, just go ahead and just drop a comment. Let me know that you are on here, that you can hear me. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Or just let me know you can hear, that you can engage with what's happening. Boop, boop, boop. You are live. All right. All right. All right. You are live, it says. Okay. Well, we're going to hop into it. We're going to jump into today. Today, we're talking about three reason number three, why you are hiding, why you hide the things that you have from God. When God gives you something, when you have a gift, when you have a talent, when you have something from God, we hide them. And we've been talking all week long about the fact that some of the things that we hide it through very religious language, through humility, through things like, um, I'm not that good, just little old me. And we just use that sort of stuff as a way to hide what God has given us. But I want to encourage you this morning. I want to encourage you today. All right, let me see. I want to encourage you today that you need to stop hiding. You need to stop hiding and you need to use the things that God has given you. All right, I'm going to try to add back my Instagram people because they've been rocking with us all week long. So let me see what I can do to get them up and rolling. All right, I think I'm going to get them. I think I'm going to get them up and rolling. All right. So, if you're watching this morning, just go ahead and drop it in the chat. Let me know that you're watching and that we are coming through loud and clear. All right, here we go. Instagram, welcome. So we talked about reasons that we hide, and I might probably have to edit some of this. How I started off pretty shaky here, but today Hazel is going to be really good. I promise you, it's going to be really good. We're talking about reasons why we hide, and a lot of times it doesn't sound like we're hiding. It sounds like we're being spiritual. We say things like, "Not a big deal. I don't have much of anything. I'm just a boy from here. I'm just a woman from here. I'm too young, I'm too old, and we make it sound very spiritual. But over and over, the theme with all of that is we're still hiding. And so we talked about on the different days the reasons why we hide. So the first reason we talked about is you don't know the value of what you have. For many of us, God has given us something and we've been sitting with it so long that we don't know how powerful it is. But we talked about the concept of interest, right? That the master says, we're looking at Matthew 25, verse 14 to verse 30 all week long. Matthew 25, 14 to 30. That the master said, if you had put my money in the bank, I would have gotten interest. And interest says that someone else wants access to the thing that you have, the resources you have, the money you have, that you sometimes stick in a place that you can't use, that people can't get to. But if you gave someone else access to it, the bank, they would give someone else access to it, and that person who had access to it would pay the bank for that access. And when they got the access to that money, they could use it to buy a house, to buy a car, to do something with it. So the thing that you were sitting on actually has value in the market to help someone to advance their life. And for many of us, we don't know the value of what we have, and so we hide it. Reason number two, why we talked about why we hide what we have, is you don't want to do the work. Listen, there's work that it takes to maintain what you have, to just hold on to the one talent you have, to just hold on to where you are and to what you're doing and to the things that you're comfortable doing. It takes work to do that because some of you are saying to me, I'm not lazy. So that's not the reason I'm hiding, but I want to challenge you. The work it takes to maintain is not the same work it takes to multiply. You can hold on to your one talent doing a certain level of work by digging in the ground to hide it. But the work it would take to multiply it is a different type of work. And that's the work that a lot of us we avoid. That's the work a lot of us we don't want to do because it calls on us to do some more. It calls for more from us. It's the work of connecting with others. So you can't just stay by yourself and work by yourself. You got to actually get out there and trade, because that's what it says in the verse. It says, when he had received the talents, the person who had five talents went out and traded with him, which meant he had to go connect with others and have conversations with others. And that may be the work that some of us need to do. You can't just sit by yourself, all by yourself, thinking about what you have by yourself. You got to connect with someone else who can augment what you have and can challenge what you have and can add to what you have, and they can make it better. And there's the work of not just connecting, but creativity. The master does not give them a blueprint. He gives them the resources and he leaves. And for some of us, we are waiting for a command when God has said, you need to use your creativity. You need to do what you feel I've called you to do. And then the third is multiplication requires us to build capacity. You've got to become a different person in order to handle more resources. And some of us, we don't want to do the work, the personal development work that it takes in order for us to become the person that can handle the thing that God, the level that God wants to take us to. Let me just say this. I have to become a different person to run $1 million plus business. And I have to be willing to do the internal work, the personal development work, to get the mindset work, and to maybe even go see a therapist and to deal with some of my thinking, and to get a coach and to get around people who will pull out of me the person that can run a multi-million dollar business. And for all of us, I don't know what your level is, but you've got to be willing to become a different person, because notice in the passage, he gives them based on their ability. He gives each of them, this is verse 15, he gives everyone according to your ability. And at the end, the person who started with 5 has 11 in his hand because his ability had increased. His capacity had increased. His mind had increased. He was a different person. He was now someone that could handle 11 when he first started, he could only handle 5. So today I want to talk to you about reason number 3 that we hide what God has given us. That you are sitting on that idea that you've been sitting on for years, that you are sitting on that business plan that has been in a book for years. You've been sitting on that book idea. You've been sitting on that story that people tell you need to tell your story. You've been sitting on that skill that people keep saying to you, you need to do more with that skill. And you keep saying over and over, no, this is the reason I'm just little, that you've been using humility as your excuse. And I want to tell you reason number 3 while you're hiding. So I need someone to just put the number 3 in the comments. Put the number 3 in the comments. Put the number 3 in the comments. I want to tell you reason number 3 while you are sitting on the thing that God has given you. I want to tell you reason number 3. So put the number 3 in the comments. So here it is. Reason number 3 is this. You don't want to take the risk. Reason number 3 that you are hiding is you do not want to take the risk. Good morning, Dr. Kesslin. We don't want to take the risk. And so I want to ask, what are you afraid of? And let me tell you this. This one is deeply personal to me. This one, I may share some things that I typically don't share, but I think it's going to connect with someone. So lock in on this one. Here's the reality, right? You cannot avoid risk in life. You just can't. You can try to play it safe. You can try to stay comfortable, but you cannot avoid taking risk. Somebody just put the word risk in the comments, because I want you to just see that word. I want you to type that word for yourself. When you wake up in the morning, if you get up and you go to work, you are engaging in a risky behavior because you are getting into a car, you are getting out there with other drivers, you are taking a risk. But if you stay at home, you are taking the risk of Maybe something happens to your house while you're in. Like, there is no way that you can avoid risk. Now, there's some risks that are bigger than others. The chances of them happening are more than others, but you cannot avoid taking risks. If you avoid risk, you will avoid growth, and you'll avoid experiences, and you'll avoid opportunities. So you cannot avoid taking risks. Because here's the truth: starting a business is a risk, writing a book is a risk, but also depending on a job is a risk, right? Um, Applying for a job, speaking is a risk. Everything we do involves some amount of risk. And the moment that the master puts the talents in the servant's hands, risk enters the story. The moment that the master says, here are these talents, risk enters the story. They assume a certain amount of risk. There's a certain amount of responsibility that they now have. And I want you to really think about this. The master entrusted them with responsibility. They had something valuable, and they have to decide what to do with it. He doesn't give them a blueprint. There is a possibility right in the beginning of failure and disappointing the master. And this isn't a question that only these servants wrestle with. You and I wrestle with this every day. What if I start that business and it doesn't work out? What if I write a book and nobody buys it, right? What if I host an event and nobody comes? Side note, I'm hosting my first in-person conference this year, and it is a huge risk. We are putting budgets together and booking speakers and putting money for an event space. And here's the question: if no one shows up, what do we do? Because it's a risk. And I want you to just understand that there is a certain amount of risk that we all take in life. The master says, here are the things, here's my talents, right? Here is this sum of money, this sum of wealth, and I'm giving you responsibility. And we think to ourselves, what happens if the thing that I have doesn't work out, right? It's a risk when I sign up for coaching. Is this going to pay off? It's a risk when I invest. And I don't want to talk to you. There's a difference between savings and investing. There's a difference between savings and investing. Let me talk about savings for a while. I want you to see this. Saving is important. Saving protects stuff. You need to have a bank account. You're saving some money. It preserves stuff. Now, when you save, you don't have the possibility of loss right away, right? Just stick with me. I put money in a regular savings account. It gives me let's say 4% interest, right? I'm just gonna get generous. It gives me 4% interest, but there's no possibility of loss. Savings, there's no possibility of loss, but you have to go so many years in order to multiply and to double that. And so the payoff is not as high. The goal in savings is protection, it's stability, it's minimizing loss. And there's some things that it's important for that. Savings rarely double stuff, right? Because we looked at this parable and people are doubling things. And I want you to get this. But when you look at this parable, what I want you to see is there is multiplication that happens. There's multiplication. Here it is, verse 16. The one that received 5 talents went at once, traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. What he did in that parable was not saving, it was investing. And investing is different. Investing says, I'm going to put something into motion because I believe it can become more. I believe it can multiply. So I invest money because I believe it can grow. I invest my time because I believe it can pay off. I invest energy. So here's how investing works, right? I might go invest in some real estate because I believe that real estate is going to go up in value. Now, it can double in value. I can get money coming back to me in rental money. But here is the thing that I want you to get, and I want you to really lock in. Investing, right, in real estate, investing in someone's business, even investing in stocks or whatever, it can go up and it can multiply. But here's the thing. and this is the fear that we usually think about, it can go down. And maybe this servant that's in the story, his fear is the fear that a lot of us have of failure. What if it does not work out? What if I invest, I put my resources, I put my time, I put my energy into something, and it does not work out the way I want it to? What will happen to me? What will happen to my family? What will happen to whatever the thing is that I'm depending on? If I invest my money into this coaching program and it doesn't work out, what if I invest into building this business and it doesn't work out? That's the risk that a lot of us are afraid of. And the reason why some of us hide is because we're afraid of failure. That's what we're afraid of. But I'm just going to be honest. This morning, as I was reading this story, something hit me, and I need a little bit of your time. I assumed that this servant was afraid of failure, because that's honestly where our mind goes first. When we think about fear, and we think about risk, we think about the risk of failure. What if it doesn't work out? What if I mess up? What if I lose things? But I want you to see something here in this story. I want you to see that there is another fear that is happening for this servant. And I want to just go to the text. Let me see if I can pull it up. So it says here, he that received the one came and said to the master, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I hid your talent, right? So we know that part. He hid the talent. I want you to understand something. He is already saying something. He says, Master, I understand that the resources you give, they are so powerful that if I use them, they would succeed. He says that you gather where you scattered no seed, and you reap where you did not sow. In other words, the thing that you have, it produces success. And I was afraid of that. And I just want to pause and just say this to someone. What God has given you, when you use it, it produces success. Now, that success may not be imminent, but it's inevitable. It produces success if you use the story that God has given you and has allowed you to go through. If you use the gifts that God has given you, if you use the talents that God has given you, success is inevitable. He says, Master, the stuff you have, you can't lose if you use it. It is so powerful. And that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that if I use the thing you gave me, I would achieve success. And I just want to say to someone today, and I want to talk about this, that the fear and the risk that many of us are afraid of is not the fear of failure. It is the greater fear of success. Woo! The fear that this servant had, he did not say, Master, I was afraid that if I use your stuff, he did not say this. If I use your stuff and I messed up, I would be in trouble. He said, no, you're a hard person. You gather where you did not scatter, and you reap where you did not sow. In other words, your stuff works. And I was afraid it was going to work if I used it. And I want to just talk about why a lot of us hide today, because a lot of us are afraid of paying the cost of success. Somebody just put yes in the comments to let me know that you're tracking. Let me know that you are with me this morning, that you are hearing this, because I believe this is for someone this morning. There is a reason I had some challenges with my tech this morning, because I know it is for someone more than me. Because here is the first risk of success. I'm going to put this on the screen. Success is going to cost you community. Success is going to cost you some community. What it means there is simply there are some people that will not be in your circle anymore if you are successful. Some of us We might lose some friends if the thing that God gave us, if we started using it, and if it starts working, and you start achieving a certain amount of success, and you start building that business, you start seeing some success with that book, there are some friends you are going to lose. There's some people that you are not going to have in your circle anymore because you are achieving success. Now, I want to tell you a quick story. This is a sociologist. Her name is Ruby Payne. She tells the story of teaching students. She had the student in her class. She said he was a brilliant student, but every time he turned in work, he kept getting F's. He kept getting F's. And so one day she pulled him aside after class. She said to him, listen, I know you know this work. I know you understand what I'm teaching. I know you understand what I'm sharing here in this class. She said to him, why do you keep getting F's on every test? And he says to her with as much honesty as he can muster, he says, the reason I keep getting F's is if I get A's, I will not have any friends. If I get A's, I won't have any friends. And some of us can relate to that. You know that in school, if you were in class and other people were failing a test and you started talking about, well, if they ask you, what did you get? Some of us would hide the fact that we got a good grade because we understood that if you were successful, some people would look at you a little bit differently. They would not want to associate with you because they look at you as, whatever. You think you're a nerd, you think you're all that, you think you're whatever, and you outgrow certain environments. And sometimes the reason why we are afraid of success is we are comfortable in our circles. We are comfortable in our environments, and we do not want to lose community. We are afraid of the isolation that success may bring to us. This man says, Master, I know you to be a hard master. You gather where you didn't sow, you reap where you gather where you didn't scatter, you reap where you didn't sow. In other words, I was afraid of the success that would come with using what you gave me. And I know there's somebody under the sound of my voice. You're watching this live, you're watching this on replay. If you really pull aside by yourself, you're afraid. What happens if the thing that God showed me, if the thing that I've been sitting on, if I started using it, if I started doing something with it, what would happen if it actually began to pay off? We're afraid of losing community. All right, that's the first thing I want you to see. But the second that I want you to see that success is going to cost you is success costs you criticism. That's a big one right there. Success is going to cost you criticism. And I want to hone in on this one. Here's where I want to just show you this. The servant who was given 1 talent, it said this. He said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man. Now, hold on. Here's how he talks to his master, to his face. He says, I knew you to be a hard man. Now, he is now making a judgment on the character of the master. We're talking about Matthew 25:14-30. We're talking about reasons why we hide what God has given us. And he says, Master, I knew you to be a hard man. In other words, he is talking about the character of the master. He is making a judgment on the character of the master. Now, that's what he's saying to his face. Imagine what he says about him outside of his presence. He talks and he thinks negatively. He is suspicious about the master. He is critical of the master. And I'm going to say this. I think some of us, we're afraid of success because we don't want people to talk about us the way we talk about people who are successful. We are afraid to attain success because here it is. If this man started to produce results and be successful, the way the master was successful, the way he looks at successful people is they are hard. They get stuff for not doing any work. They gather when they don't scatter. They reap when they don't sow. If he became successful, he would then become part of the category of people that he was talking about. And some of us, God help us, we are afraid of success because if we become successful, we now become the people we've been talking about over and over again. And I know I'm telling the truth because I've been guilty of that. We look at people who are successful in their businesses and we talk about them and we say it's only because they're doing this, and we put all these negative aspersions on them. We say people who are successful in this is because they're sold out, it's because they don't have integrity, it's because they're dishonest, it's because they're this, and it's because they're that. Now, if you talk about them like that, what do you expect happens if you achieve that level of success? I think a lot of us, we're afraid of success because we don't want to become the target of criticism, because that's how we talk in our circles about successful people. We say stuff like they changed, they're not humble anymore, you got too big for other people, you forgot where you came from, they think they're better than everyone else. Success attracts opinions, and success attracts criticism. And one of the prices that you've got to pay for success is people criticizing you. Success is going to cost you criticism. And some of us, the risk that we do not want to take is the risk of success because we are afraid of the criticism that comes with success. Because it also is connected, right? Because if you get successful and people criticize you, you're going to lose the friends who you used to talk about successful people with. You're going to lose the friends who say to you, you can't hang out late night anymore because now here it is, you're studying because you've gone back to school. You're going to lose the friends who are saying, just stay doing that job. You don't need to spend any time building anything. You're going to lose the friends who say to you, what you doing writing a book? You know you never went to no school to write no book. You're going to lose those friends and you're going to have criticism. Can somebody just put a yes in the comments? Let me know that this stuff is resonating, that you are receiving this today, because I believe that some of us, we are afraid of success. In fact, we're more afraid of success than we are of failure, because success costs. It's like Debbie Allen says in Fame, fame costs. And right here is where you pay. This servant says to the master, Master, I knew you to be a hard man. You gather where you did not scatter, and you reap where you did not sow. And I was afraid that I would have been successful. And if I was successful, it would cost me. Here's the last thing that success costs us. And this is the one that I think is the biggest one. Success creates expectation. Success creates expectation, Hazel. It creates expectation. Once people know what you're capable of, they expect something from you. Success creates expectation. When I was growing up, my dad, when I would get grades in school, and I'm just going to tell you, I got good grades, but there was a time I was not getting good grades. And so when I started, the first time I remember getting all A's on my report, my mom's very encouraging. My mom still is that way today, biggest cheerleader. My dad is a lot more pragmatic. He writes in you have to have someone write something in your report card before you take it back to school. That was a system back then. He writes, keep it up. Keep it up, right? Keep it up. Somebody put that in the comments. Keep it up. Now, I was very young back then, and I still feel the weight of those words, because what those words said is, I now know you can do this. This is what I expect from you going forward. This is what I'm going to look for from you every time you get a report card. This is what the baseline is for you now. I know you can do it. This is what I'm going to expect from you. And for some of us, the fear with success is people will start expecting something from us. Can I be honest? Even doing these lives this week, when I started off, there was a certain fear on day one, because day one meant I got to do this again. And I'll be honest, day one, I thought day one went really well, but it created the fear of expectation. People will expect a certain level of engagement. They will expect a certain value if they were to turn on their computers and come on social media. They are going to expect something from me. Do I want to raise their expectation of me? Now, here is what one of my professors said when we were in school learning a particular subject. He said, you can't have 3 good sermons, right? He said, you're going to have a fall off. And that thing has stayed in my mind, because what it says to me is, if people expect that from me, I am going to disappoint them. And that is a fear that a lot of us have. We are afraid that success is going to create expectation from us. Expectation that you're going to show up. Expectation that you're going to produce at a certain level. Expectation that since you wrote this one book, you're going to write another book. Expectation that if you achieve a certain income level from this particular your business this year, that you're going to do that again next year. And here is why I say that, because notice in the passage, when the servants were given these talents and they produced, one with 5 produced and it became 10. One that had 2 produced and it became 4. The owner, the master, does not take it away from them. He gives them greater expectation. He puts them over more responsibility. And the one that started with 5 now has 11. He has expectation that you are going to handle this 11 the way you handle that 5. And the person with 1 said, I do not want you to expect from me that I am going to multiply what you gave me. I don't want you to look at me and expect a certain level of achievement. I don't want you to expect me to do this again, because if I multiply this 1 and get 2, you're going to expect me to take the 2 and make it 4. Then you're going to expect me to take the 4 and make it 8. And I don't want the weight of the expectation. And somebody, you can relate to me that you are afraid of success because you do not want the weight of expectation. What happens if people show up when I actually do my event? What happens if they come and they invest their money and they invest their time? They are going to expect a certain level. And do I want the weight of those expectations? Someone says, what if I put my stuff out there and people show up and people buy and people now join my program? What happens then? And here is what success ultimately is going to cost you. It's going to cost you the ability to hide. Success stops you from being able to hide any longer. That's it. You can't keep saying, I'm not really that good if you produce success. You can't keep saying, I don't know that much if you finally bring the book to life. You can't keep saying little old me anymore, because people have evidence that you can do it. People can see, yes, she's a great speaker. She's been telling us all along she can't talk and she's so nervous and she can't. And when you actually step up and share the message that God has given you, and you step forward and you share and you talk and you step in front of the audience, you can't hide behind that excuse anymore, because success just exposed the fact that you can do this. We expect something from you now. You can't hide behind those excuses. And for some people, success feels scarier than failure. For some of us on this live, and trust me, if this has been a blessing to you, share this with someone. because you know someone that the reason they're not using the thing that God has given them is they are afraid. And we usually think people are afraid of failure. I thought I was going to go to this text and I was going to come and I was going to tell you that this servant was afraid of failure because he was afraid of what the master would do to him if he failed. But what I looked at in the Bible, and you saw it for yourself, he said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man. You gather where you did not scatter. You reap where you did not sow. In other words, the stuff you gave me was going to be successful. And I was afraid of what would happen with success. So that's my question to you today. What are you actually afraid of? If you use the thing that God gave you, if you shared your story, what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of getting on bigger stages and more people hearing that story? What are you afraid of? People expecting you after you do it well the first time to do it again? What are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid of the criticism that you shared about successful people being shared about you? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of losing a community of friends who only gathered around negative stuff? Are you afraid of what you would lose for failure or what you would lose for success? Because I'm going to go back to what we talked about in the beginning. Every opportunity comes with risk. It comes with a risk. I want to share something with you. I'm gonna put myself out there, make a risk on this. We host a challenge once a month, and we're hosting one in the month of June. We are hosting a challenge in the month of June. Oh, Dr. Kiss, I got to read this. Our greatest fear by Marianne Williamson is it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Now, come on, Dr. K, for the win, right? That's our fear. Imagine, woo, if you actually showed up and did the thing that God calls you to do, what would happen in your life? And I'm not saying dip your toe in the water and just see if it kind of works. I'm saying go all in and actually say, I'm going to show up and do this thing. I'm going to really go after that thing. I'm really going to invest in this. I'm going to stop sitting on what God has given me, and I'm going to stop hiding. Our greatest fear, I love it, is not darkness. It's the light. It's not that we're inadequate. It's that we're powerful beyond measure. Listen, June 14 to 18, myself, 3 other coaches, we want to help pull something out of you. We want to help coach you out of that fear. We want to help pull out of you the thing that you've been sitting on and waiting on and hiding and just procrastinating on. We want to say, let's take some action. And so we're hosting a 5-day challenge called the Monetize Your Ministry Challenge. And it is to help you, a faith-driven individual, to take what God has given you and to begin moving it out there. And listen, that's one of the things I remember Myron asking someone in one of our challenges. And by the way, if you sign up, do the VIP because it gives you access to coaching every day and you get to ask questions. Myron asked someone on one of these, right? But it's the other coaches are Myron Edmonds, Pierre Quinn, Athena Shack. He asked someone, he said, what are you really afraid of? Because as they were sharing what they're afraid of, he said, you're not really afraid of failure. You're afraid of success. And that word stuck with us in that challenge. Because some of us, the truth is, we're afraid of success. And if you stay by yourself, you get to keep your fears. But sometimes what you need is to get around other people who are facing their fears together. There are other people who are saying, let's do this. I remember my wife and I, we went to Ghana. There were these bridges we had to walk over. And there were a group of us. And we said, we're going to cross these bridges. And they were a little creaky. They were high up. And there were about 4 of us. We were doing it. Now, by myself, truth be told, I would have walked backwards. I would have said, I'm not doing this. But we were in a group. And in the group, we borrowed courage from each other to say, let's move forward. And that's what I'm offering you an opportunity to do. I want someone to just type this in the chat, monetizeyourministrychallenge.com. It's a little bit of an interesting way to spell it, so just pay attention to the spelling. Just type that in the chat, no spaces, monetizeyourministrychallenge.com. just type it in the chat. I want you to go there, spend 5 nights with us, 7 to 9 p.m. VIP. If you can't make all of the days because you're a busy person, you get access to the replays for a full 7 days. And there's so many other things. You get to be part of a community of other people who are building. And listen, we're building, a lot of us right from the ground, but we're building. We're building our coaching programs, and we are writing our books, and we are putting ourselves out there speakers, and we are putting together the things that we've been sitting on. Because what we recognize is it is time to stop hiding. It is time to stop being afraid. Stop being afraid. And some of us, we're afraid of what if things go wrong. And a lot of us, we're afraid of what if things go right. So I want to encourage you, go to the link, monetizeyourministrychallenge.com. It is there in the chat. Somebody put it in the chat. And listen, I'm not going to say if you've gotten value from this, because I know you've gotten value from this. I'm going to ask you to share this live. Share this on your page. Share this with someone who needs this. Thank you, Frazier, because I know there's someone in your circle of influence. You can even tag them in the video, tag them in the comments. Someone you know has something awesome that they are sitting on, and they are afraid, not of failure. They're afraid of what if it works out? And they need this boost. They need this word of encouragement to say, move forward. And maybe they need that community of people who are crossing the scary bridge called success together. So go to monetizeyourministrychallenge.com, share this challenge with someone else, and I will see you tomorrow, right? So expect to see me tomorrow at 7, where I'll share reason number 4, why we hide the things that God has given us. 7 a.m. Eastern. That's when you're going to see me. I'll be here on the platform that you're watching me on. I'll be back. I'll be sharing on that platform. You all have a great rest of your day.